Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
The moment my wife said, I should have listened to my girls into her phone, I knew our marriage certificate was worth less than the paper it was printed on. 6 months of marriage, and she was already planning her exit strategy with the same women who'd told her not to marry me in the first place. I'd come home early from a business trip. Flight got canceled after the conference ended, so instead of staying the extra night, I grabbed the earlier connection. I was actually looking forward to surprising her, maybe ordering takeout from that Thai place she loved, spending a quiet evening together. That fantasy died the moment I walked through our apartment door and heard her voice drifting from the bedroom. I set my suitcase down quietly, not trying to eavesdrop, just naturally quiet in my movements. That's when I heard my name. You know that feeling when you hear yourself being discussed? Everything in you freezes. Your brain switches into hyper-alert mode, cataloging every word, every tone, every pause. Her laptop was on the bed, video call active. I could see the edge of the screen from the hallway, 4 faces I recognized from the wedding. Her bridesmaids. Her girls. So, the divorced one was talking, the ringleader of their little group. 6 months in. Are we finally admitting we were right? My wife laughed nervously. I don't know what you're talking about. Girl, please, another voice chimed in. You cried the entire bachelorette party. You told us you weren't sure. That was just cold feet, my wife said. Everyone gets those. Cold feet is one thing, the third friend said. You literally said, what if I'm making a mistake, like 50 times? There was a long pause. I stood in that hallway, luggage handle still gripped in my hand, and waited for her to defend me. To defend us. To tell them they were wrong. Okay, she said finally. Maybe you guys had some points. The suitcase handle felt suddenly heavy in my hand. Some points. The divorced one was on a roll now. Babe, we laid out a whole presentation of red flags. I remember, my wife said quietly. Believe me, I remember. And another friend prompted. How's married life treating you? Everything we said it would be. Another pause. Longer this time. It's fine. Fine. 6 months of marriage, and I was fine. The groans from her friends were unanimous. Fine is not what you sign up for forever. I know. My wife's voice had that defensive edge now. It's comfortable. It's stable. Stable is code for boring, the divorced one declared. We told you this. You did. You really did. I should have walked in right then. Should have announced myself, confronted what I was hearing. But some part of me needed to know how deep this went. How long she'd been feeling this way. It's not too late, you know, one of them said. My cousin got her marriage annulled at 8 months. My wife laughed, but it wasn't a dismissive laugh. It was a considering laugh. Stop it. I'm serious, though, the divorced one said. 6 months is nothing. My divorce took longer than your marriage. My wife sighed. A long, heavy sigh that told me everything I needed to know. Sometimes I wonder if I should have listened to my girls. There it was. The truth she'd been hiding for 6 months, delivered casually to everyone but me. Should have. One of them said. Girl, you still can listen. We're right here. I look at you guys living your lives, doing what you want, answering to no one. Exactly. Freedom. Remember freedom? I do. My wife's voice was wistful. God, I miss it sometimes. I set my suitcase down carefully, made enough noise that she'd hear. The conversation stopped abruptly. I walked toward the bedroom door, and when I appeared in the doorway, my wife's face went white. 4 faces stared at me from the laptop screen, frozen in various expressions of guilt and defiance. Don't hang up on my account, I said calmly. Your girls and I need to get on the same page. My wife scrambled to close the laptop, but I held up one hand. Actually, leave it open. I walked into the room, looked directly at the screen. Ladies, thanks for weighing in on my marriage. Really helpful. The divorced one found her voice first. This is between you two. Is it? I interrupted. Because 6 months ago you were telling her not to marry me. Tonight you're giving her annulment timelines. Seems like you're pretty involved. Silence on the screen. I looked at each face in turn. Quick question for the advisory board. Which one of you has a successful marriage I should be taking notes from? More silence. That's what I thought. I crossed my arms. You're divorced, you're serial dating, you're in that toxic thing with your ex, and you. I pointed at the 4th one. You think marriage is a scam. That's my wife's council of relationship experts. You don't know anything about us. The divorced one said defensively. I know you spent 6 months trying to talk her out of marrying me. I know you're spending tonight trying to talk her out of staying married to me. That tells me everything I need to know. Maybe if you were a better husband. I'm not having this conversation with you. I cut her off. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to watch me have a conversation with my wife. And when it's over, you're going to have your friend back. Permanently. My wife finally found her voice. What's that supposed to mean? I looked at her directly. It means they're about to get exactly what they wanted. I closed the laptop. She stood there, looking like she wanted to bolt. Let me explain. Explain what? I kept my voice level. That you cried through your bachelorette party? That you told them you weren't sure? That's 6 months in, you're already taking notes on annulment timelines? I was drunk. I was emotional. The bachelorette party. What exactly did you tell them? She looked at the floor. I said I wasn't sure if I was ready. Not sure if you were ready, or not sure if you wanted to marry me. The distinction hung in the air between us. That's different, I said quietly. That's very different. Every bride has doubts. She was crying now. You didn't have doubts. You cried through the entire party. You said, what if I'm making a mistake 50 times? Their words, not mine. I sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly tired. When did you stop wanting to be here? That's not fair. When? I looked up at her. Before the wedding? During? The day after? I need a timeline for when exactly my wife checked out of our marriage. I haven't checked out. You just told them you miss freedom. You told them you're not excited. You told them you should have listened when they warned you about me. I shook my head. That sounds pretty checked out. She sat down across from me, on the small chair by our dresser. They're my friends. I should be able to talk to them. Talk, yes. Strategize your exit, no? There's a difference between he leaves dishes in the sink and my marriage was a mistake, and here's the annulment timeline. You're twisting everything. I'm repeating everything. If it sounds bad, that's because it is bad. She wrapped her arms around herself. What do you want me to say? I want the truth. I leaned forward. Why did you say yes when I proposed? Because I loved you. Loved. Past tense. Interesting. I love you. Present tense. Then why does it sound like you're trying to convince yourself? She broke down then, really crying, and part of me wanted to comfort her. But a larger part of me needed the answer to my question. Why did you say yes? I asked again, quieter this time. Through her tears, because everyone said you were perfect for me. Because you were stable and kind and you'd never hurt me. Because it made sense. There it was. It made sense, I repeated, like a business decision. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. I checked all the boxes. Safe choice. Smart choice. Just not the choice that made you excited to wake up next to me every morning. She looked up at me, and I could see the truth in her eyes even as she tried to deny it with her words. I thought feelings would grow. I thought once we were married. You married me hoping you'd fall in love with me eventually? The realization hit me like a physical blow. You settled. You knew you were settling. Your friends knew you were settling. I'm the only one who didn't know. That's not. I didn't settle. Then what would you call marrying someone while crying through your bachelorette party? What would you call saying yes to a proposal while already having doubts? What would you call building a life with someone you describe as fine and comfortable to your friends? She stood up, defensive now. You're acting like I don't have any valid reasons to be uncertain. Oh, I'd love to hear them. Please, enlighten me. What are my fatal flaws? What makes me so unbearable that 6 months in, you're already shopping for exits? You want a list? Her voice rose. Fine. You never surprise me. You never do anything spontaneous. Every weekend is the same routine. You'd rather stay home than go out. You're perfectly content with boring. Boring. I nodded slowly. I'm boring because I'm consistent. Because I show up. Because I don't create drama for entertainment. See? You're doing it right now. Everything is so measured with you. So controlled. So predictable. And that's bad. In a marriage? Predictability? I stepped closer. You know what's not predictable? Your commitment. Your loyalty. Whether you actually want to be here from one day to the next. That's unpredictable. And it's exhausting. At least I'm honest about my feelings. To everyone but me. You're honest with them. I gestured toward where her laptop had been. But with me? You fake it. You go through the motions. You play the role of happy wife while secretly wondering if you made a mistake. I'm not faking anything. Really? When's the last time you initiated sex? When's the last time you suggested we do something together without me bringing it up first? When's the last time you looked at me like you were glad I came home? She opened her mouth, then closed it. You can't answer because the answer is never, or so long ago you can't remember. Want to know what I think? I think you married me because I was safe, because your parents liked me, because you were 30 and your friends were all getting married, and you didn't want to be left behind. I was convenient. That's not true. Then what is true? Because I'm standing here asking for one good reason why you said yes, and all you can give me is that it made sense. That's not a reason to marry someone. That's a reason to hire an accountant. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I stood up. 6 months. Let's review. Did feelings grow? We're still adjusting. Yes or no? She couldn't answer. That's what I thought. I walked to the window, looked out at the street below. Here's a simple question. Right now, if your friends told you to leave me tomorrow, would you? They wouldn't do that. They literally just suggested annulment lawyers 30 minutes ago. Try again. I make my own decisions. I turn back to face her. Do you? Because every major decision we've made as a couple, you've run by them first. Where we'd live, how we'd split finances, whether we'd have kids. You consult them before you consult me. That's not true. Last month, you wanted to visit your college roommate. I said let's make it a trip for both of us. You said no, you needed girl time. You came back with 3 new complaints about our marriage. What did they tell you that weekend? She looked away, which was answer enough. They reprogrammed you, I said, like they do every time you see them. They're my friends. I've known them longer than I've known you. And that, I said quietly, is the problem right there. You're more loyal to them than you are to me. I'm loyal to both. You can't be loyal to people who want your marriage to fail and be loyal to your marriage. Pick one. Why are you making me choose? I'm not making you choose. You already chose. 6 months ago when you cried through your bachelorette party. Tonight when you told them you should have listened. You chose them. I'm just acknowledging reality. I walked over to where she sat and held out my hand. Take off your ring. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. What? Your wedding ring. Take it off. No. Are you insane? You're sitting here telling me you wanted to want to marry me, that you're comfortable but not excited, that you should have listened to your friends. Why are you still wearing a ring representing promises you don't want to keep? She clutched her hand to her chest. I'm not taking off my ring. Then I will. I reached for her hand. She pulled away. Don't you dare. We're married. Are we? I asked. Because married people don't shop for annulments at the 6-month mark. I wasn't shopping. They were just talking. And you were listening, agreeing, participating, making plans. I held out my hand again. The ring. Now. Please don't do this. You did this. I'm just finishing it. I don't want a divorce. You don't want to be married either. What you want is the security of marriage without the actual commitment. And I'm done being your safety net. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then, slowly, with shaking hands, she removed her wedding ring and placed it in my palm. I pocketed the ring and looked at her sitting there, sobbing. You're about to fit right in with your girls, I said. Single, miserable, and looking for company. She looked up at me, devastated. What? That's what they are, isn't it? Your friend group. A support group for people who couldn't make relationships work. And now you get to be a full member instead of just an affiliate. I can't believe you're doing this. Believe it. I walked toward the door. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we talk logistics. But this, I gestured between us, this is over. No, please, we can fix this. I turned back one last time. You can't fix something you never wanted to build in the first place. She was still calling after me when I closed the guest room door. Within minutes, I heard her on the phone, crying, explaining, seeking comfort from the same people who'd orchestrated this disaster. Through the wall, I could hear snippets. He found out. He's leaving me. What do I do? And their responses, tinny through her phone speaker. Come stay with me. You're better off. He was always controlling. Already rewriting history. That was fast. I lay awake most of the night, processing 6 months of marriage. Mental inventory of red flags I'd ignored. She never initiated intimacy. She never talked about our future, only her plans. She spent more time with friends than with me. She never defended me when friends made jokes. She kept her maiden name for professional reasons. She maintained separate bank accounts just in case. She'd been keeping exit routes open from day one. I was up at 6. Coffee made, laptop open, divorce attorney websites already researched. Legal pad filled with itemized lists of assets. When she emerged from our bedroom at 8, she looked terrible, clearly hadn't slept at all. Did you sleep at all? She asked quietly. Doesn't matter. We need to talk logistics. Can we please just talk about US first? There is no us. There's what we own and how we split it. She sat down at the kitchen table, deflated. You really mean this? You really thought I didn't? I slid the legal pad toward her. Here's what happens next. I've already consulted with an attorney. Since we've been married less than a year, divorce is straightforward. No kids, no shared property beyond furniture, no complicated assets. She stared at the pad. You called a lawyer already? At 7 this morning. He was very helpful. How can you be so cold about this? I'm not cold. I'm clear. There's a difference. You spent 6 months being unclear about whether you wanted this marriage. I'm giving you clarity. I pointed to the itemized list. You keep what you brought into the marriage, I keep what I brought. Shared purchases, we split 50-50, or you buy me out. The apartment lease is in my name. You have 30 days to find new housing. 30 days. It's generous considering you've had 6 months to decide you didn't want to be here. I'm just expediting what you already wanted. I never said I wanted a divorce. You said you should have listened to your girls when they told you not to marry me. Same thing. She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled back. Don't, I said. Don't do the touching thing like that's going to fix this. I'm trying to connect with you. Now you want to connect? Where was this energy for the last 6 months? Where was this when your friends were tearing me apart and you were nodding along? I wasn't. You were. I heard you. You laughed when they compared me to a mailman. You agreed when they said I was boring. You participated in every criticism, every joke, every suggestion that you'd made a mistake. You were an active participant in disrespecting your own husband. She pulled her hand back, tears streaming down her face. Why are you being so cruel? Cruel? I'm being honest. For the first time in our marriage, we're both being completely honest. And you can't handle it because you've been living in a fantasy where you could keep me as backup while you figured out if something better existed. That's not what I was doing. Then what were you doing when you told them you missed freedom? What were you doing when you said you look at them and wish you had their lives? What were you doing when you entertained conversations about annulment? Silence. That's what I thought. I stood up. Here's the thing you don't understand. I could forgive doubt. I could forgive uncertainty. What I can't forgive is disrespect. You disrespected me, our marriage, and every promise you made. You did it repeatedly, consciously, and with an audience. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. She tried a different approach. What if I promised to change? What if I stopped talking to them about us? Stop talking to them about us. Or stop talking to them entirely? About us. Not good enough. You can't ask me to choose between you and my friends. I'm not asking anymore. That's the point. You already chose them. Repeatedly. Every time you ran to them instead of coming to me. Every time you valued their opinions over your vows. Every time you let them poison your perception of our marriage. People can change. I can change. I leaned back in my chair. Into what? Someone who actually wanted to marry me? You can't change the past. You can't uncry your bachelorette party. You can't unsay I should have listened. You can't unfeel 6 months of disappointment that I'm exactly who I always was. So that's it. One bad conversation, and you throw away 6 months of marriage? It wasn't one conversation. It was the conversation. The one where you finally told the truth to people you trust more than me. The doorbell rang. She looked at me, confused. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there stood her friend, the divorced ringleader, with coffee and what I assumed was moral support. I'm here to pick her up, the friend announced. She's coming to stay with me. She lives here, I said calmly. Not anymore, apparently. You kicked her out. I didn't kick her out. I told her the truth about our marriage, and she's having trouble accepting it. She pushed past me. You're being cruel. She made one mistake. One mistake? I followed her into the apartment. She spent 6 months consulting with you about whether she made a mistake marrying me. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. My wife appeared from the kitchen. Come on, babe, her friend said. You don't need this. Actually, I said, she does need this. She needs to face the consequences of not valuing what she had. The friend turned on me. You think you're such a great catch? She was settling for you. I know. She told you that. Multiple times. That's why we're getting divorced. Good. She deserves better anyway. Better than stable? Better than committed? Better than someone who actually wanted to be married to her? I smiled coldly. You're right. She deserves exactly what you have. How's that divorce treating you, by the way? At least I'm free. You're alone and bitter. There's a difference. But don't worry. You're about to have company. The friend's face reddened. You don't know anything about me. I know your divorce finalized 8 months ago. I know you've been on dating apps ever since with nothing to show for it. I know you trash talk men constantly, but desperately want one to validate you. I know you're the one who planned the bachelorette party where my wife cried all night. Want me to keep going? How dare you? How dare I? You've been sabotaging my marriage since before it started. You gave advice you knew would hurt us because you wanted her to fail. Not because you cared about her happiness, but because you couldn't stand seeing her succeed where you failed. You needed her in your club. The divorced, bitter, men are trash club. And congratulations, you finally recruited her. My wife was watching this exchange with growing horror. Is that true? She asked her friend. Did you want me to fail? The friend's expression shifted. Of course not. I wanted you to be happy. And clearly, he wasn't making you happy. I was content, my wife said quietly. I was building something. Until every time I talked to you, you'd point out everything that was wrong. Every flaw. Every shortcoming. You never once asked what was going right. Because nothing was right. You told me yourself. Because you asked me what was wrong. You never asked what was good. You'd say, are you sure about this guy? And don't you miss being single? And remember how much fun we used to have. You never said, what makes you smile about him? Or what's better now than before? I watched my wife have her realization in real time. Oh my God, she whispered. You've been doing this the whole time. Doing what? The friend's voice was defensive now. Leading me. Every conversation. You'd ask questions that only had negative answers. You'd bring up my ex. You'd remind me of things I'd given up. You weren't supporting me. You were. She looked at me. You were recruiting me. That's insane, the friend said, but her voice lacked conviction. Is it? I asked. How many of your friends are in happy relationships? The friend glared at me. That's not relevant. It's completely relevant. You surround yourself with women who are as miserable as you are. Anyone who gets into a relationship, you pick apart their partner until they're single again. It's a pattern. And my wife was your latest project. I'm defending you, her friend protested. You're making it worse. Is she, though? I asked. Or is she just saying out loud what you've all been saying behind my back for months? My wife turned to her friend. Can you give us a minute? I'm not leaving you alone with him. Please. Just wait in your car. The friend left, but not before shooting me a look that could have melted steel. When we were alone, my wife said, see, I'm choosing you over her. You're asking her to wait in the car. That's not choosing me. That's managing an audience. What do you want from me? Nothing. That's the point. I wanted a wife who wanted to be my wife. You wanted. I still don't know what you wanted. But it wasn't this. It wasn't me. And I'm done pretending that's going to change. I do love you, she said desperately. Maybe you do, in your own way. But it's not enough. Love without respect is nothing. Love without loyalty is nothing. Love without wanting to actually be present in the relationship is nothing. I'm here. I'm present. Your body is here. Your heart and mind are with them. They've always been with them. I was just the placeholder husband while you figured that out. She had no answer for that. I'll file papers tomorrow, I said. You can stay here for 30 days while you find a place. I'll sleep in the guest room. We're roommates now, not spouses. You've thought of everything, haven't you? One of us had to. She walked to the door, opened it, looked back. What am I supposed to tell people? Tell them the truth. Tell them you should have listened to your girls. Tell them you're finally free to live the life they wanted for you. And what are you going to tell people? That I married someone who never wanted to be married to me, and I finally accepted it. She paused at the threshold. I'm sorry. I know, but sorry doesn't change anything. It just means you finally understand what you lost. She left with her friend. I watched from the window as they drove away. And just like that, she got exactly what they wanted for her. Welcome to the club. 3 weeks later, I was living alone in an apartment that finally felt like home. Peaceful mornings. No walking on eggshells. No wondering if today was the day she'd decide to leave. No competing with a committee for my wife's attention. Just quiet. The divorce was moving forward smoothly. She tried reaching out, texts, calls, emails, even showing up at my work once. Security had handled that. Each attempt was more desperate than the last. Can we talk? I made a mistake. I see things clearly now. But I had clarity she didn't. She wasn't seeing things clearly. She was seeing that being divorced was harder than being married. Not the same thing at all. Through mutual friends, I heard updates. She was living with the divorced friend now. They were fighting constantly. Turns out friend number one was a nightmare roommate. The friend group was showing cracks too. They were annoyed she was moping. They wanted her to move on and start dating. She'd thought they'd support her. They wanted her to entertain them. She wasn't sleeping. She'd lost weight. She wasn't the same person. But that wasn't my problem anymore. One Saturday morning, I was at our old coffee shop, my coffee shop now, reading a book, enjoying the peace. She walked in with one of her friends. We made eye contact. She looked terrible, exhausted, thinner, haunted. I looked peaceful, rested, content. She started to approach. I gave a polite nod and returned to my book. She stopped mid-step, realizing I'd truly moved on. Her friend pulled her away, whispering aggressively. I couldn't help but think. She wanted to see if there was still a chance. There wasn't. A week later, she was waiting outside my apartment building. I sighed but didn't avoid her. We talked in the lobby. Can we please just talk? Really talk? She asked. We're talking now. I mean about us. About what happened. There is no us. And what happened is you got what you wanted. I didn't want this. I didn't want to lose you. You wanted out. You got out. The fact that you don't like what out looks like isn't my problem. She was crying now. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I see that now. You see that being single isn't the paradise your friends promised. Different thing. I miss you. I miss us. I miss what we had. You miss stability. You miss having someone who gave a shit. You miss not having to live with your divorced friend who's driving you crazy. But you don't miss me. You never wanted me. That's not true. It is true. You said it yourself. You wanted to marry me. That was never going to be enough. Can't people change? Can't people grow? Sure. But they don't grow by going back to something they never valued in the first place. They grow by learning from their mistakes and not making them again with someone else. She broke down completely. You were right. About everything. My friends, they're not what I thought. Living with her is hell. They don't actually care about me being happy. They just wanted me to be like them. I know. I should have listened to my girls. To the right advice. I should have listened when they said you were good. I should have. I interrupted her. You did listen to your girls. That's the problem. You listened to them over me, over your own vows, over everything that mattered. And now you're exactly where they wanted you. What do you mean? Single. Miserable. Looking for company. You fit right in now. Congratulations. Is there any chance, any possibility? No. You won't even think about it? I've thought about it plenty. The answer is still no. You know why? She shook her head. Because even if I took you back, even if we tried again, you'd still have them in your ear. And the moment things got hard, the moment routines set in again, you'd be right back on the phone with them, wondering if you made the right choice, looking for validation to leave. I'm not doing that again. I'd cut them off. Completely. You'd resent me for it. You'd feel isolated. And eventually, you'd blame me for making you choose. It's a losing game, and I don't play games I can't win. But what if I've actually changed? What if losing you was what I needed to wake up? People don't change because they lost something. They change because they genuinely see what they did wrong and commit to being different. You don't see what you did wrong. You see the consequences of what you did. There's a massive difference. I do see what I did wrong. Do you? Tell me then. What exactly did you do wrong? She hesitated. I listened to the wrong people. That's not it. Try again. I didn't appreciate you. Closer. But still not it. Then what? What do you want me to say? I want you to understand that the problem wasn't listening to your friends. The problem was that you never wanted to be married to me in the first place. You wanted the idea of marriage, the security, the status, the wedding, but you didn't want me. And everything that happened after was just a symptom of that fundamental truth. She stared at me, and I could see her trying to formulate an argument, a defense, anything that would prove me wrong. You can't, can you? I said softly. You can't tell me I'm wrong because you know I'm right. You married me knowing you didn't love me the way a wife should love a husband. You hoped it would grow. It didn't. And instead of being honest about it, you let your friends validate your doubts until you felt justified in wanting out. I did love you, she whispered. Past tense. Again. I shook my head. You loved what I represented. Stability. Safety. The opposite of your last boyfriend who was exciting but unreliable. I was the overcorrection. The safe bet. The boring choice that made logical sense. Stop saying that. Why? It's true. Your friends didn't create your doubts. They just gave you permission to act on them. The doubts were there from the beginning. I was just too blind to see it. She was sobbing now. So there's really nothing I can do? Nothing that would make you reconsider? You want to know what would have made me reconsider? If you'd come to me 6 months ago and said, I'm having doubts, I need us to work on this together. If you'd defended me even once when your friends criticized me. If you'd prioritized our marriage over their opinions. If you'd shown me, just once, that being my wife was more important to you than being their friend. But you didn't. And now it's too late. She was openly sobbing. So what am I supposed to do now? Live with your choices. Figure out who you are without them telling you. Maybe next time you'll know the difference between friends who want what's best for you and friends who want company in their misery. I really did love you, you know. Maybe, in your way, but it wasn't the way I needed, and it wasn't the way I deserved. That's it. That's how this ends. This ended 6 months ago. You just didn't realize it until the consequences showed up. I walked away, didn't look back, heard her crying in the lobby, felt nothing but relief. Weeks turned into months. I heard through the grapevine that she'd moved out of her friend's place after a massive fight. The friend group was imploding. Infighting, jealousy, competition. She was trying to reconnect with them, but they were too busy. She was in therapy now. Too late, but at least she was trying. She was telling people she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She was asking mutual friends if I was seeing anyone. I was. Casually. Someone who actually wanted to be there. 6 months of marriage taught me more than 6 years of dating ever could. It taught me that some people don't want to be saved from bad advice. They want permission to follow it. She got that permission, and I got my life back. Her friends got what they wanted too. They got her in their club. Single, struggling, learning the hard way that the grass isn't greener. It's just dead in a different spot. The irony was perfect. They were miserable because they couldn't maintain relationships. Now she was miserable for the same reason. Not because she couldn't maintain one, because she didn't value it when she had it. I think about her sometimes. Wonder if she's figured it out yet. That they weren't protecting her from me. They were recruiting her into their cycle of dysfunction. That I should have listened to my girls cuts both ways. She should have listened to the ones who said I was good. Instead, she listened to the ones who said she could do better. Now she knows. Better isn't real. Better is just different problems with a prettier filter. Me? I'm done competing with committees. Done trying to prove my worth to people who wouldn't know value if it proposed to them. Done being someone's safe choice while they shop for exciting. One Saturday morning, my phone buzzed while I was making coffee. A text from her. I'm sorry. For everything. I hope you're happy. I read it. Didn't respond. Set the phone down. Took my coffee to the balcony. Watched the sunrise. Smiled. I was happy. Happier than I'd been in months. Happier than I'd ever been with someone who only wanted to want me. She got her girls. They got her. Everyone got what they wanted. Except her. And that was the most justice I could have asked for.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.